It's a bird. It's a plane. It's the return of the Planet Film Network. Welcome back, everybody, to the Planet Film Network. I know it says Planet Film Live above us. That is our go-to branding, but this is a pre-recorded review here. I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I'm your other host, TJ Cornwell.
And today we are going to be diving deep into non-spoilers, then spoilers for this brand new movie. I don't know if you've heard about it. I don't know if you've looked it up or not. That is 2025's Superman, directed by James Gunn. I should say written and directed by James Gunn. Obviously, this is going to be our very first entry, our very first big screen entry into the DCU. We had Creature Commandos at the tail end of last year. We have Peacemaker coming up very, very soon, next month on HBO Max. But we are here today to talk about this guy, David Corenswet, Superman, Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, Mr. Terrific, the Justice Gang, everybody that's in this movie, Eve Tessmacher, everything like that. We are going to be talking about all of it, as well as how we felt about the movie's place as this new keystone entry in the DCU, how we felt about these performances, the writing. Did some of the jokes hold up? Did some of the James Gunn isms go a little too far? Or was it just enough? What were some surprising moments? And we are going to talk about not the big reveal in the post-credit scene, but the big reveal kind of towards the tail end of this movie of a certain character, which was pretty cool. But we'll also talk about the post-credit scenes as well as some Rick Flag implications for Peacemaker. Where does a character like that go? How do we feel about a character like that's presence in this movie? We're going to be talking about kind of all the aspects that we can think of for this movie. So without further ado, what were your general thoughts, overall impressions? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Where are you feeling on this very, very first DCU big screen entry? We know we're going to get Supergirl next year, but starting off with Superman, I'm going to throw it to you first. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of kind of stuff going into this movie, a lot of discourse online, I would say. And if maybe you're not on Twitter, like you're not really on Twitter, I feel like anymore.
No, not at
so
all.
Maybe
Yeah.
you didn't see a ton of it, honestly. It's more, it's prevalent on YouTube as well, obviously. But
yeah.
So I didn't really know which way this was going to go, honestly. And after seeing it last night, I really enjoyed it. I thought the three main leads of the movie were all amazing. I thought it had some great comedic moments. Not everything obviously worked, with James Gunn. I feel like you got a lot of comedy kind of packed into one thing.
Yeah.
And, some things hit and some things didn't. A lot of supporting characters. I came away really specifically, and this was a part of like the big kind of initial reviews as well, really liking Mr. Terrific. Really excited to see what happens with that character going forward. And there's, talks of maybe a spinoff show coming to HBO. So that would be great to see.
Oh, yeah.
I thought David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan had some great chemistry on screen. I thought their Clark and Lois Lane were really good together. I would have liked a little bit more, Clark Kent, I would say. He's probably Clark Kent for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
More than that, but a very short amount of time. The Justice Gang, I loved all them. I'm after watching the Rookie, I'm a big Nathan Fillion fan, so everything he basically said as Guy Gardner just it worked for me.
The what in the what?
Yeah.
The what of the what?
I had a really good time. I shouldn't really be surprised, honestly. Coming from Guardians 3, that was, I thought, maybe the best of the trilogy. Definitely number 2.
Yeah.
If not,
I feel like the more time that passes, the more you and I are in the minority on that. I'm like, so many people I talk to, they're like, the third one. I'm like, man, it's so much more than even just the rocket stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I shouldn't really be surprised that James Gunn really kind of knocked it out of the park with this kind of introduction to this world. Obviously we had Creature Commandos earlier, but that was,
also show. I got it right here. I didn't even Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost completely forgot about that. Yeah.
I would say there's a few things that didn't quite work for me. Mainly Luthor's kind of too kind of big tank people, specifically it's not the machinist. What's her name?
The engineer.
She didn't really work for me all that much.
Mm-hmm.
And the kind of two plot lines of the two countries at war with each other, and then obviously the big kind of lore. And maybe it's it's probably I'm not as up to date on all the comics and stuff like that, so I don't know. But assuming this has been done before, maybe where you're actually Superman, you're actually sent there to kill all these people and basically like invincible this planet. And I didn't think those two things quite worked. I would have liked if they could have just chosen one of them and just gone more with one.
You're saying kind of like the inciting conflict of like the public's distrust of Superman. You're saying either pick the Bravia stuff or the message stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. I got you.
Because I think you could have gone down a road more again where it's like Superman acting of his own accord because he feels he needs to step in.
Yeah.
And again, I thought one of and again, I'm kind of running along, but one of my favorite scenes was the interview scene, like right at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Lois and Clark going back and forth and her questioning him on, his actions and like, hey, did you talk to the Secretary of Defense or the president or anything?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no. And he basically admits to kind of like torturing the the head of the country.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wish we would have maybe just picked one, and not gone both ways. But overall, I had a great time with the movie. I'm excited. I'm going to see it again at some point. I don't know when, preferably in IMAX.
Where did you see it?
I saw it the theater near us.
Like our theater?
No. AMC.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
But yeah. Definitely see it. And a couple of my friends are seeing it at the drive-in this week, and I'm like, this is a great drive-in movie. Mm-hmm. It really is. It's a great one. But don't get me wrong, it was a great IMAX one.
Yeah, I had a great time with it, and I'm excited to see what else is in this universe going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I'm pretty much gonna parrot everything that you just said, which I feel like it's been a while since we have a really big movie that we both. We haven't really talked about how we liked it. Just a couple of memes or quotes that we've sent back and forth to each other. But obviously, I got the vibe that you liked it, and I liked it very much as well. Which is, for me, I really liked that very first trailer coming out of. When was that? Was that like Super Bowl territory whenever we got the first trailer? Or maybe it was around Christmas, maybe. But I really liked that very first trailer. And then just more and more, I just haven't felt the hype. I've been very busy. I've seen basically up to our last show, which was a month ago when we did the Last of Us finale, or the Last of Us, whatever the last episode we did of the Last of Us. I've seen like 5 new movies in theaters, and before that, the entire year before that, I only saw like 4. So I've been super behind on my movies, and I was just down on the July stuff. I was like, I'm excited for Fantastic Four. I hope Superman is good. Jurassic, whatever, take or leave it. I could not be happier with how I felt coming out of this movie, and really how I felt sitting there watching the movie, because it just I was listening to a little bit of the Geek Buddies review, and Michael Vogel on that show made a really great point that I was thinking about all week, which was, I think it's a really, really awesome thing when you're like 25 minutes into a movie and you go, I think I've seen pretty much like 2/3 of all the trailer footage.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really, really great feeling, particularly all of the Fortress of Solitude stuff that, you just assume that stuff is going to be later on in the movie when you see him losing the fight and that he's all beaten up. You're like, oh, this is probably, the big third act, moment or something like that, the all is lost moment. But to put that right at the beginning of the movie, and again, we're not going too deep into spoilers right this minute, but just, it's literally the first few seconds of the movie. The way that it opens with that text where it's 300 years ago, the first metahumans appeared. you know, and then it was 3 decades ago that the first that a baby was sent to the earth, and then 3 years ago, 3 months ago, 3 weeks ago, and then 3 minutes ago, Superman lost his first battle ever. Like, and then just boom, the crash land right in the middle of everything. I thought that was a fantastic way to just start right in the middle of the action, just pick everything up. And I did see, I saw Dan Murrell's review. And I know that I have to stop just referencing all the other reviews and everything like that, but I saw Dan Murrell's review before it. I watched about the first 2.5 minutes of it before I had seen the movie. And he definitely seemed a little more, not negative, but a little more like sour on it. But the one thing he said in like the first minute, and really the only key piece of information that I brought in with me, is that I heard him say that it's like starting you basically as if this is like Superman 2. That he's like, it feels more like a second entry in a franchise. And that had me worried a little bit. But I got to say, the way that was executed, I thought was flawless. I mean, it was like, it was even more of jumping forward in the hero's timeline than what they did with like Homecoming. You know what I mean? That was like, Peter had already been Spider-Man, but now this was really his first big test and everything like that. And this movie, to a certain degree, is Superman's first big test as well. But he's had 3 years of saving people and fighting villains and taking down these bad guys and doing this, that, and the other thing. And I thought that you really felt that. I thought it was cool that he had a pre-existing relationship with the people of Metropolis, that it wasn't like oh, this guy just showed up and now we're scared and threatened by him. It's like, this guy's been saving us for 3 years, and now we have all this information coming out, and we don't know how to feel about it. We don't know how to feel about him. He doesn't even know how to feel about himself anymore. I thought that all that stuff was really, really great and really, really worked in the context of the movie. I do agree with you with some of the stuff of, you know, that stuff versus the Bravia stuff versus, you know, kind of how all these different storylines ended up tying together, being a little, I wouldn't say messy, but just being a little chaotic. But I think, you know, purposefully chaotic, this movie very much feels. But yeah, overall, I really, really loved it. I thought that he did a great job bringing this version of Superman. I think that if whether you love him or hate him with James Gunn, he knows the things that are in the comics that will bring out life in a movie. And I think that he hits those beats so well all throughout this movie. And I just thought it was a really good, solid, like 2-hour story. Like it felt like a movie. Like this is like the movie. You know what I mean? Like it was just beginning, middle, end. Everything was there laid out. It was a super fun adventure. There was great characters. There was great moments all throughout it. Like you said, some really bright spots with Mr. Terrific and Lois Lane and a bunch of other people as well. Crypto, we haven't really talked about yet, but we're going to get into some character stuff in a little bit. But I want to move over to just kind of talking about the overall plot of the movie with what's going on with Lex and everything like that. And we're going to transition over into spoiler territory. So before we hop over into spoilers, if you have not seen Superman yet, we are going to dive deep into spoilers. But for the non-spoiler version of this video, TJ, we're going to wrap it up here. What do you give this movie out of 5? What did you rate it on your Letterboxd?
My grade on it is going to be 4 out of 5.
All right. Yeah, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I went back and forth a lot between 4, 4.5, or even 5. And to me, I just think I couldn't do 5 because I'm just like, there are certain moments, certain things that don't land. Some of the James Gunn humor, it's like an 80-20 mix. You know what I mean? Where it's like you can like 80% of the jokes work, 20% of them don't, but the 80% that work like so well that it covers the loss of anything that's like, oh, okay, like all right. Like some of the Cat Grant humor or just like some of the weird like erroneous stuff going on in the background. But then again, for everything that was like kind of we get like a great Jimmy Olsen joke or a great Jimmy Olsen scene or moment, who I thought was great in the movie that we'll talk about in a little bit. But that will do it for the non-spoiler talk. So if you haven't seen it yet and you're just checking out the non-spoiler video, go see Superman, come back to the channel, check out our full video. Obviously, you're going to jump about 15 minutes into the spoiler review so that you can get to our spoiler section. But that'll do it for our non-spoiler review. Thank you so much for joining us for that. All right, we are going to jump full spoilers ahead. Woo, woo, woo. Full spoilers ahead for Superman. Let's go ahead and talk about this. So overall, we have this movie at its bare bones is Lex Luthor does not like that Superman is the only being on Earth that he can't control. He doesn't like
generational hater, as the kids are saying.
Absolutely. Generation, once in a generation hater. And he hates that he is an alien. He hates everything about him. He calls him an it, all of this stuff. And because of that, he is creating this conflict so that he can have an excuse to officially go after and just take down Superman by any means necessary. And then basically the movie is following that process, seeing how Clark responds to it, seeing what Lex does to try and counter it, and seeing if Superman can prevail at the end of the day. And through that, we have this conflict between Baravia and John-Por that he went and broke up, basically. Where classic Lex Luthor wanting to name a country after himself. It's always about land with that guy, which I thought was very, very interesting. And then we have obviously everything with the I keep wanting to say the Terrifics because that's what they're thinking that project is, but it's the Justice Gang. Everything with the Justice Gang showing up to help him fight the kaiju, which, as we know now, was just simply a distraction so that Lex could get to the Fortress of Solitude, which I thought was great. Again, it's just one of those things that you see all the footage in the trailer and you're like, how does this all mix together? And it just mixed together so effortlessly. And so, and everything just made such logical sense. But yeah, let's jump into let's just go anywhere you want to in the entire plot. We have everything with the pocket dimensions as well, with the prison sequence, with Metamorpho. We can kind of jump into anything, anywhere you want to go. What do you want to talk about first?
I think the first thing I want to talk about is the kind of change in, I guess, origin story, technically, where instead of, being sent to Earth to do good and, everything else, he's sent there to kind of take over, harkening back to
species.
Yeah, harkening back to Invincible. I also always go to like Dragon Ball as well. That's another big one with that kind of storyline because that's kind of what the Saiyans were known for, is they kind of conquer planets. So what did you think? Do you think that was, for me, and again, I don't really have, like I said, I'm not big in the comic knowledge for Superman, so I don't have much of a connection to that kind of storyline in particular. Personally, I didn't think it was really needed. And that kind of goes back to my thing where it's like, I don't really know if we, could we have just chosen one of these things? Like, did we really need to do both? Because I think you could have gotten wherever you wanted to go with just one of those. But what was your reaction to that? Was that something that's been seen before that we've talked about?
I don't know. I mean, I know that like there's a lot of like, I mean, even in Man of Steel and stuff like that, and even in like the whole point is that like the Council on Krypton suck, right? It's like they're like don't listen, they're like stubborn and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a specific comic run, or maybe even if in All-Star Superman or something like that, which I have not read, but I have wherever it is. I don't know how many issues, like that first book that remember when he posted this is what it's based on. Or whatever. I have that. I read it when I first got it. I haven't read it since. Maybe I might reread it, but I don't know for sure if that's it. But I see no problem with the fact that like stubbornness or that like what am I trying to say? That like feeling would extend to Jor-El. Like I'm not like, oh, Jor-El would never do that.
Yeah.
Like I think it kind of makes sense that they're like, and really, the whole point is that Lex is like twisting this message to be, oh, he's gonna kill us all, he's gonna take over. When yes, they did say darker stuff than Cal knew, but they didn't say, I want you to kill everybody. They said the people of Earth they're weak, they're a feeble species compared to us. Go there and basically propagate the species. You know what I mean? Like it's not like they were like they were basically like they were basically like they didn't use the words "take over the planet" and kill
Right.
everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, but at the same time, that was their meaning and what they were talking about. So that's totally fair. But I just thought it was an interesting little wrinkle to add that. But really, all the way through the movie, I thought that they were going to reveal that the back half of the message was false. But
fake,
but I understand they were like, well, we want the audience to know it's not fake. So that's why they gave the line to Mr. Terrific where he's like, I can tell you 100% that message is real. Like, no question.
Right.
So that was very interesting. But I do agree that in terms of the motivation of like the public distrust of Superman, I definitely think you only needed one of those to carry that through. But honestly, I think I would have kept the message and lost the Baravia stuff. In my opinion. But also I understand that's kind of a House of Cards falling situation where you kind of need the Baravia angle to make Lex make sense. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like to give him the proper motivation and the layers that they're kind of trying to pull off here. So I thought it was fine. I thought it was an interesting choice. Like obviously, right away when we got what's his name here, K2SO himself, Alan Tudyk. Right away when in the first scene he's like, the rest of the message was damaged. It's like, okay, well that's gonna come up somehow. It's going to. But I did not expect it to come up that fast or that easy. And I did think that was an interesting moment for the engineer when she was going into that Kryptonian computer, kind of like having that moment of like, oh my God, this is like more power than I've ever, felt before or that I've dealt with before or something like that. I thought that was very interesting. And obviously, full spoilers here, but I think to no one's real surprise, we had obviously Bradley Cooper playing Jor-El. Which I will be honest too, when that reveal happened and they were speaking Kryptonian, I was fully expecting in the third act that like Clark would find the rest of the message and that they would translate it to English and that Bradley Cooper would have this like big moment.
Yeah.
But the fact that they really kept it to just this cameo in another language, really just him standing there, I thought was pretty cool restraint to not be like, well, Bradley's going to do this cameo, but he needs to get a big scene. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it was really just a true Jor-El message that we've seen in every other version, but just in a very, very interesting way. I want to move over and talk about the kind of the jump to the middle of the movie here. And this is going to be a quicker spoiler review. We can't talk about everything because it's a 2-hour movie, but I want to talk a little bit about the scene on the Kent's farm because you had mentioned earlier, and I think it's a good point that like, people were saying, oh, I think like Hawk Girl got a little bit of the short end of the stick. I do agree with you that I think that this guy maybe got the biggest short end of the stick of the whole movie.
Yeah.
And that's Clark Kent. And granted, the interview scene, he's riding the line between Clark and Superman back and forth and back and forth. But in terms of Clark, we really only got kind of the big scene at the Daily Planet when they're all together. And then really this kind of the stuff at the farm then the apartment stuff. But there's really not much Clark Kent past the halfway point of the movie. If any, actually, I don't even think that we see Clark after he kind of wakes up, after he leaves the farm. But how did you feel about Ma and Pa Kent and that relationship? And then if you want to kind of transition that to his and Lois's relationship, kind of not being the whirlwind romance that we're used to, kind of being a little more, she even says, I was going to break up with him. But then obviously going to the farm and everything changes that stuff. So how'd you feel?
I would say Ma and Pa, I would have liked more from them. Just again, like you said, we're kind of being thrown in to this universe. And this is something that I also kind of had called out prior to the movie. Or like a few months ago that I thought might happen where when I was like, and this is more to Lois and Clark. I was like, when this comes out, they'll probably be together already. I was like, I don't see them like fitting in them, like meeting each other and all that stuff in this movie. Yeah. I'm like, they'll probably have an established relationship already, which they do. I thought the scene with his dad and him kind of on the front porch talking and he's kind of having this crisis of like, you know, I'm not who I think I am because I thought I was sent here for one reason, but I'm actually here for a different reason. And how do I, you know, come to terms with that? And him saying like, you know, you have those genes, but you know, we raised you, you know, like you have the heart of what you've grown up around of Kent. Yeah, exactly. And them having that moment together, I thought was really good. I thought the phone call as well. I don't remember where that is in the movie when they're talking on the phone and he's talking to his mom.
Oh,
she's
yeah,
like
yeah.
yelling into the speakerphone.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. So I really, really
they felt like
all
real
that.
farmers. They felt like real people.
They did.
Like
yes.
It was crazy.
And we haven't talked about really crypto at all, but crypto and him kind of messing with the cows. I thought that was all really funny.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought that all worked really well. Like I said, I would have liked more of that, but and I saw somebody say this, I don't remember if it was on Twitter or whatever, but and a lot of people are saying it too, but the movie is very like kind of fast paced where it's like it is like a comic where it's like panel to panel to panel to panel. Like it's very like boom, 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 boom. And I think maybe that's where if we could have slowed it down at a few moments and, you know, build more into this relationship. Because again, we don't know, you know, we don't know what we're just meeting them. And
I was shocked at how short he was on the farm. Like I thought that was going to be a much longer sequence of like,
because they have that conversation and then they're like, well, we got to go look at the TV and it's the country getting invaded. And it's like, well, you got to go help, you know? So it's like,
Superman.
So as much as I loved like all that stuff, I just wish we had a little bit more of it. And then as far as Lois and Clark goes, I loved like I said, the interview scene between the two where he's in between, you know, he's as Superman, but he's also speaking as Clark. I thought that was probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie. But yeah, even like you said, her kind of having this like, you know, I don't know if this is really gonna, you know, work. And I don't know if we necessarily get that. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we, you know, from the time that she is talking to Mr. Terrific, and we have that conversation of like, oh, I was gonna break up with him. I don't know if we necessarily get that kind of
like resolution
where it's like they do that and then obviously they go to the farm, but that's more for his parents.
Yeah.
And then they don't really talk again until the end of the movie. Right? Am I incorrect?
Yeah.
In that?
No, you are right. Yeah, they were. Well, no, they do have. I'm trying to think here. That was after the dog went missing during the kaiju fight.
Oh, what was that?
That
was before the farm, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, he turns himself into the DOJ. Wait, where does he go to the farm after he gets out of the prison?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then no.
Okay,
yeah, because they have that bit. They do have that big scene where Clark and which I loved, by the way, that it had been like a day or so, and he brought it back up where he was like, "What did you mean by you didn't think you knew this would never work?" And I liked that because she has a great reaction. And I should say as well, I was not out, but I'm just not the biggest Rachel Brosnahan fan. I go back. This is like going to sound so stupid, but I really wanted Emma Mackey for this role. I was really championing her when it was between, it was Emma Mackey, her, and then somebody else. I forgot the three people that were up for Lois, but so I was not Team Brosnahan from the beginning. I'm not a Marvelous Ms. Maisel person. Only thing I really know Rachel Brosnahan from is House of Cards, obviously, which was a very long time ago in her acting career and in my life. I thought she was fantastic. Like, blew me away. I love the first four movies. I'm not a huge Margot Kidder. Like, that is Lois Lane. Like, I think she's just giving a really good performance as the female lead and as the romantic love interest in this. And she's got that kind of, you know, snappy, you know, Lois Lane kind of feel and everything like that. But Rachel Brosnahan had that kind of snappy, like, hey, see, like that Lois Lane has, but also in this moment when he says, what did you mean that you knew it wouldn't work? She has this moment with just her eyes, where you see her as Lois go, I thought I kind of got away with that one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
love that moment that it was like, she was like, oh, thank God he's got so much else going on. But it's the fact that he's got so much else going on, but that's what's at the top of his mind that really sold me on the chemistry between these two. That it's like, he's looking for crypto. His fortress just got torn up. All of his robots are dead. Every connection that he had back to his home has been stripped away from him. He doesn't even know his own identity anymore. He's about to turn himself into the government because they think that he's like a crazy murderer. And yet the thing that he is most worried about in that moment is, what am I doing that this woman that I am starting to love, or he says in that scene that he loves her, isn't feeling the same way back. And I thought that was so interesting, and that really sold me on their dynamic, and kind of to the point of, we don't get a really big scene with them until the end. That kind of was enough to sustain me and carry me through, that I believed in the struggle of both of them to get back to each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All throughout the third act. Like, I thought that was really interesting. And although she doesn't have a lot of scenes with Clark, I did like the whole, all the Daily Planet people getting in the terrific ship, and writing the story as they're flying through, trying to keep up with like the little LexCorp hover thing. I thought that all that was very interesting, although obviously, just to keep her at least engaged in the movie.
I think, like you're saying, like, I think once they get on that ship, it's kind of like, all right, we're going to focus on the title character. Where it's like, they kind of we get like a minute or two, maybe, of them, like, her dictating to Jimmy, and Jimmy's typing away, and he hands it over. He goes, oh, does this look good? Oh, yeah, it looks good. Hit publish. And then it's like, okay. And then we see it on the news, and then they're kissing each other at the end. Where it's like, okay, let's, we're coming to the end. Let's focus on Superman and everything else. So, again, I agree. I agree with you. Like, I thought she was amazing, but towards the end, we kind of push everyone to the side, I would say.
Like, I think it probably does the best job of any Superman movie at keeping Lois engaged in the third act. But even still, she's not really that big of a part of the third act. You know what I mean? Like
it's hard. I mean, it's hard. Like,
it is, and it's also what they give her to do. I mean, if Superman beats up Lex, it means nothing unless she publishes that story. You know what I mean? The movie is not over until Otis goes, hey, boss, you better turn the volume up. And then they're like, oh, Lex Luthor, a traitor, all this stuff. But yeah, I think we can move on. Or, well, all right, yeah. Let's talk a little bit. The last kind of plot thing I want to talk about is just the end. What did you think about? And then we'll go into character stuff, and we can pick out, specific character moments that we really love for people like Jimmy and Lois and a bunch of other people. But kind of the whole end, where this whole movie, Lex is creating these problems either in Metropolis or around the world to kind of get Superman to go to. And then he goes too far with this one, where he reopens the broken dimensional rift, knowing that it's going to open a tear in reality, basically. And that is kind of our big deal in the third act, as well as the reveal of Ultraman, which we can also talk about. But what were your kind of thoughts on the whole ending, and basically Superman and Mr. Terrific kind of trying to save the city before it's too late?
Yeah, I thought that was all good. I thought they did a really good job leading up to the end, specifically with Lex Luthor, to make him look like just he's willing to do whatever it takes to murder this person. I mean, and again, we didn't talk about, but in the kind of interdimensional tear thing, when I didn't expect him to shoot that guy in the head. And when he does, it's like, oh, this guy is like, he's not playing around. He's not like, he's not some, this isn't
it's not empty words.
Lex Luthor. You know what I mean?
He doesn't have a Jolly Rancher. He has a gun.
Yeah. And then when he kind of goes on this quick monologue of like, just why, like, you make us look worse. You're this Superman that none of us can, attain. You come down here and act, all this way. And it's like, and like you said, he can't control him either. That's like another big sticking point. I thought the way they did all that was good. And I thought, taking the I don't even remember how they closed. How do they even close the rift? I don't even remember.
They just input the code that closes it, I guess. Yeah. They're like, if you close the portal, if you shut down the original portal, it just seals it back up, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But no, I thought that was all really well done. I felt the stakes of the moment, and that's what they're trying to go for.
How did you feel about the well, I guess I'll talk about that and then I'll throw it back to you on this on this stuff. But I did feel the stakes of the, I feel like a lot of comic book movies, it's inescapable. You either I forget who this originated with, but everybody's, like all movies now are, you either have to get the Tesseract or close the portal. That's like what every movie is you either have to close the rift or get the thing. And this is a close the rift movie. You know what I mean? This is it's not a MacGuffin focused movie. It's a contain the problem kind of movie. And within that, you gotta kind of make the best with what you can do with traditional storytelling. You know what I mean? And I think with that, I think they put so much color and character and kind of seasoning on all this stuff with just how it works. The first reveal of the portals, which by the way is something that was in none of the trailers at all, none of the ones that I saw at least. Like, so the first reveal of the portal, when the guy goes and walks into it, and it's like this like violent like like it's like this more technological version of like a sling ring portal. I thought that stuff was awesome, and I really liked how I really like the science of like they're there to rescue Clark, but because they're staying there too long, they damage the portal, and then that gives Lex the idea that we have this damaged portal. Well, if I reactivate it, it's going to cause this even bigger issue, and then it'll be able to lure Superman out. I thought that all that was really, really great. And then the other thing I was going to say is right. And then within this fight as well, with everything else going on, as he says to Mr. Terrific, he's dealing with some serious shit. I actually really liked, I mean, if you're a comic book person, you kind of knew that this was going to be what it was, but the Ultraman reveal, I thought worked. I was really happy with the way that they revealed that, and the way that David Corenswet looked as Ultraman, with the long shaggy hair and everything like that. Even just his like vacant expression, I thought that he did a really fantastic job portraying Ultraman, like just in his face. And then obviously a great job as Superman fighting him. But even before that, and we're going to transition to talking about kind of character by character for the last like 10 minutes here. But I did like the moment with the engineer Ultraman and Superman fight in the baseball stadium with the nanotech and everything like that, choking him and like covering him, and then the flying all the way up because he knows that he can just torpedo back down and that he'll survive, but they probably won't. Or they'll at least be thrown off of him.
Yeah.
I really like that whole baseball sequence. It obviously was a big part of the trailer. That was one of the few things that you're like, okay, well, I haven't seen any of the baseball diamond stuff because that's a little later on. But what did you think of kind of the Ultraman angle, the engineer big fight with the baseball stadium and everything, kind of before we deal with taking down Lex in the movie, the kind of mini boss fight before that? Yeah,
I liked the like you said, I liked the fight at the baseball stadium. The Ultraman thing I liked, and then when the revealed thing, I made the connection. I was like, and again, this is me not really having much knowledge at all, but I was like, oh, that's like the Bizarro thing. I was like, is that what this is? And then when he kind of gets sucked into the black hole at the end, then I heard people saying like, oh, maybe that's where the Bizarro thing comes from, because I guess he comes back, I'm gonna assume, maybe at some point.
Oh, like as Bizarro?
That'd or something like that. The engineer, like I said, and I'll be honest, I just didn't really care for that character at all.
Mhm.
Honestly, it was, and full disclosure, for any of Lex's like kind of minions, I didn't care about. But
Yeah.
like his IT team, all those people, I was like,
They did have some funny moments though, where he's like, "Bravo's down. I just said
Yeah.
that, Jack," or whatever he said.
Yeah, you know what? It was just like when they're in the Fortress of Solitude and they're kind of walking up to the computer, and after they've beaten all the robots, and
Yeah.
Lex says something, and then the engine, like she goes like, "Yes, I too also have dedicated the rest of my life to taking down this alien," or something like along those lines.
Mhm.
And the way it was, and I was just like, "This is not working for me." This
Mhm.
character. So pretty much after that, I was kind of out on her.
Yeah.
But like you said, the fight sequence in the baseball stadium was, or the baseball diamond was awesome, and the flying up and then crashing down was really cool. I didn't really understand, because I was like, oh, are they gonna like freeze when they get into space? But it didn't.
Mhm.
I didn't see any freezing, so I was like, we're just plummeting towards Earth, I guess. Because I didn't
Yeah.
really understand how that would affect the nanobot things.
I think the idea is that like it's her body, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
he said, Angela, you have to detach. He's
Yeah.
the only one protected. So it's like she's got her like internal organs out, like wrapped around
that
him.
makes more sense.
Yeah, that
Yes,
kind of
yeah.
thing. So
Which
it's
I
like,
think she did survive.
yeah,
Did
they say
she
that
was
they're
breathing,
like
or,
she
yeah.
has a pulse. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But like half of her was like up on the other level that he was like throwing up.
Right.
So yeah, I think she was just out for the count, but not like dead. But yeah.
One really quick thing that
Yeah.
I think I realized after watching it that kind of bothered me, and this might be really stupid, but
You just didn't
does
like
he
the
just get his
color of the
ass beat
suit.
too much in this movie?
Whoa. I don't think so. I think it gave me, you know what it was for me that I really locked in on, like, because for a while it was hard to kind of realize I was trying to get a feel for his powers all throughout
Right.
the movie, of this version of Superman's
Yeah.
powers. And for me, it really came together when he has that big moment with Lex at the end, when he's got the red all around his eyes from the Ultraman fight.
Mhm.
And it starts to fade away when he's like giving that big speech to Lex. So I'm like, okay, he does heal himself. Like, he doesn't have to be brought to the Fortress of Solitude every time. Like, he can heal himself
Right.
really
Yeah.
well. But I just I ended up liking that. I ended up liking that it's like this guy, it's not that, like with Henry Cavill, the famous, like when the kryptonite is wearing off and Batman's punching him and then slowly he just stops moving, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a great shot and
Yeah.
an incredible part of BVS. But I like that this Superman is not that. That it's like this
Mhm.
Superman can get punched and his head will turn, if
Yeah.
you want to, or if you're strong enough to. But it's about the fact that he will just keep getting back up and he'll just keep getting back up. And I
Yeah.
kind of like that, for lack of a better term, like the Rocky-ness of that, like
Right.
Rocky Balboa, not like Rocky, whatever.
Mhm.
Like the actual film franchise. I like that
Right.
element of like the underdog, that like he does get beat up and whatever. But that being said, he does get beat up quite a lot. Or he's easily, not, I wouldn't say easily, but the threats he faces more often than not have the capability to incapacitate him.
I think
And
it's
I
one
think
of
that's
those
interesting.
things where my reference point to Superman is just being like indestructible.
Mhm.
So when I see a villain who I feel is lesser than,
Yeah.
beating the hell out of him, I'm like, come on, like, get up. It like, and I don't think he ever fights the guys that Mr. Terrific fights, but like if one of those guys was or maybe he does.
He does in
fights them
the air, remember, with the
yeah.
teeth and then the laser vision and
Like
stuff?
one of
Yeah.
those is, I'm kind of like, come on, just they're, let's be honest, they're no match for you. Just take them out.
Yeah.
So that was just one of my things. It's kind of like a nitpick type thing, but
Mhm. Yeah, but I think it's valid though, and it is a different version of Superman, because it's like Henry Cavill's Superman, the way that guy's written. I mean, this is like, this movie would be, he would just take Lex and like drop him 1,000 feet and then catch him and then put him in a prison cell. Like, but this guy just is not that. And I like that. It is kind of this different take on him, a more like, you know, he would rather sit there and get beaten up than end the fight in one punch. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like Spider-Man, how they're, you know, it's like everybody knows that Spider-Man has to pull his punches when he's fighting people. Otherwise he would literally turn them into pulp. Like he's like, I have to pull my, sorry, what is it? The Andrew Garfield in No Way Home. He says, I stopped pulling my punches. You know, I got dark. I really started hurting people. So I think there is that kind of element to this version of Superman as well. That's like, he knows that he could end pretty much any conflict he's in, but he doesn't want to. You know what I mean? Like he says, I think he even alludes to the fact when she's like, you took the president of Baravia out and held him up against a cactus or whatever. And he's like, it could have been much worse. You know what I mean? Like he was like, I could have done a lot worse. So I thought that was interesting, but yeah, I mean, what you're saying, I definitely see that in the movie. I just thought it was a refreshing change from the kind of previous versions. Even the Tyler Hoechlin Superman is like, he's got a little more of that, like he's just a human anvil. You know what I mean? Like Henry Cavill has. Whereas I think this one was a little more like, you know, a little more of an everyman Superman, if that makes sense. And he has that great moment. And I want to transition here over to some of the character work here. And let's start off with Superman himself. I think obviously for me, David Corenswet knocked it out of the park. I thought that every single scene that he was in, he was fantastic. Obviously, the interview scene, I think, wins you over really early. With just the human. The whole point of this movie is that he's not. Is that everybody keeps going, this alien, and it's like he is an alien, but he is also very human. Like maybe the most human, you know, Superman that we've seen, honestly. And I think that is evident in that interview scene when he loses his temper with Lois multiple times. I think that comes through in the humor in David Corenswet's performance. I think just the 2 nanosecond scenes of him trying to find the record button on the little recording device. And it's like, he holds it up like he's got it like this. He's like, where's the button on this? Like, he's like, whatever, I'm not dealing with this. I thought that the humor that was asked of him, even something that I think was maybe the corniest on the nose line, was I'm doing some, what does he say? I'm doing important stuff over here. Yeah, like that was a super corny line, but even that, I think his exhaustion in that delivery, I thought was great. Helped a lot by Edie Gathegi, who we'll definitely talk about in a second, because Mr. Terrific was terrific. But yeah, what are your thoughts, David Corenswet, Superman? And then we'll probably bounce over to I'll let you pick between Lex or Lois.
I agree with everything you just said. I thought he was great playing both kind of parts. Again, I would have liked a little bit more Clark, but I thought everything in that scene with Lois in the interview in the apartment, I thought was really, really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, just kind of the, you know, I'm an alien, but I have the same emotions that you do. You know, I love, I hurt, I yell, all this stuff that comes with being human. And just because, you know, maybe my DNA or whatever is a little different doesn't mean we don't share the same, you know,
values or
anything.
And I love, he has that line too, where in that speech, the end of it, where he goes, and that's my greatest superpower, is how human I am. And I love the fact that he says to Lex, and no matter what you want to think about yourself, that's your superpower too, Lex, is that you're human. Like this moment of this guy who has spent this whole movie trying to other him and trying to other Superman and kill Superman, that the only thing that Superman wants to say to him at the end of the day is basically, I forgive you. You're just as human as I am. You make, you know, the fact that we are both so fallible is what makes us human and is what makes us able to relate to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was great. But I said I'd let you pick, but let's talk about Lex. Let's talk about Nick Holt. How did you feel overall? I mean, Nicholas Holt, Lex Luthor, he's been flirting around with DC movies for a long time about will he be Batman, will he be Superman? Finally lands on his feet as Lex Luthor in the DCU. What were your thoughts on Nick Holt and on this take of the character?
Yeah, I thought he was great. Honestly, I saw like the original Superman movie a while ago. I've only seen it the one time. And then I don't really remember much of Jesse Eisenberg, and I never saw Superman Returns with Kevin Spacey as the character. But this is probably my favorite that I can remember. Just because like you said, like he's not obsessed with like, oh, this is my evil plot to steal this for, like in the original Superman, I think it's like he wants to build something, so he destroy. I forget what his actual motivation is in the original one, but this one, it's like, I just fucking hate this guy. Like he and again, it's kind of this thing where it's like he just thinks he's so much better, and you make our people look so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was a great line.
I thought, and again, like I said, his whole kind of monologue at the end there, I thought was really, really good. And he's genuinely like, you feel like, oh, he can do some damage,
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm still in shock that he shot that guy in the head. Like, and he's like,
yeah.
And I'll be honest, for some reason in my head, I thought that he knew that he was Clark. But then when he's like, oh, maybe I'll get that reporter that you're always talking to down here or something like that.
And I love that that's really the only line that they care about that in the movie. Like so many of the Lex, like it's like the Batman and Joker thing where it's like Lex doesn't care who he is.
Right.
He just wants to take out Superman. He doesn't care about, you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, most of the Spider-Man villains, it's like, well, they always look at knowing Peter's identity as the way to take him out. But it's like, for Lex, it's like, I don't want to find out who you are as a person and then go to your job and kill you. Like, there's no fun in that. You know what I mean? Or like with Joker, it's like, I don't care who you are. I want to fight you. That's all I want to do. So I thought that was interesting. That was really the only allusion that we got to Lex even remotely caring about Clark or relating to Clark of just saying, that reporter that you always do interviews with. But I thought that was great. What about let's talk a little more in depth here, or just a little more put a pin on it. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. What were your thoughts on her?
Yeah, I thought she was great. Honestly, like I don't have much connection to her as an actress. I've never watched Marvelous Miss Maisel. I watched House of Cards, but honestly, you saying she's in it, I don't even remember like seeing her in that show. I don't know. I can't think of like what character she played.
She was the one in like season 1 that like Corey Stoll had the affair with. She was like the assistant. This is like ancient secrets that people shouldn't even talk about anymore. But this is like years and years and years ago. Yeah.
But no, I thought she was great. I would have liked a little bit more kind of, they do have that kind of investigative journalism in there with the pictures and, what Lex's kind of plan has been. But I would have liked a little bit more of that, I would say. And I would have liked a little bit more of her later on in the movie. Like we both said, like once the third act kind of rolls around, it's like they're kind of all tossed into the ship. And they do kind of keep it, and and like you said, they do keep her like relevant because without that story, then people will never know.
There's no takedown. Yeah,
right, exactly. So, all that, but I would have just liked a little bit more at the end. But I thought she was really good. Like I said, I thought they had really good chemistry on screen, and I totally believed their relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know I kind of said my bit on Lois a little earlier, but I agree 100%. Just really was not unsure and like, all right, time to prove it to me. Just like I just was indifferent, but she really, really won me over as the character for sure. But let's talk about another set of 3 characters here. Actually, I lied. Let's talk about this guy for a second. How did you feel when all is said and done about Crypto and kind of the space that he occupied and kind of the bigger moments that he had in the movie?
Yeah, I thought it all worked for me. I'm a dog guy.
Mhm.
So everything from the funny joke of him kind of just endlessly chasing squirrels to him uh not behaving or
Yeah.
listening to commands or anything like that. That all worked for me.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm excited to see, what his deal is in Supergirl as well.
Yeah, I think it'll be very yeah. That's the thing is that they kind of well, we'll talk about that in a sec.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about it now. Whatever. What did you think about again, big spoiler warning here, but what were your thoughts on Rhaenyra herself showing up here at the end? First of all, I just want to say not that I ever doubted Millie Alcock, but
Hmm.
her accent and just her voice for her, I think is perfect.
Hmm.
Like the real kind of almost like California kind of vibe of like when she was like, "Thanks for watching my dog, bitch." Like,
Yeah.
like that was so funny to me. And the fact that that Superman and four at the end of it, or Gary, I guess I should say. But the fact that Superman and Gary at the end were like, "Yep, that explains crypto." And his owner has no self or no boundaries. That's what it's
Right.
no personal
Yeah.
boundaries. And she just seemed to love getting attacked by crypto and just be happy to see him and everything like that. But what were your thoughts on this kind of right at the last second, this Millie Alcock, the reveal of the suit, her look, her voice,
Hmm.
everything, this little tease for Woman of Tomorrow. Or I guess it's just called Supergirl now,
Supergirl,
but
yeah.
yeah, I'll probably call it
I thought
Woman of Tomorrow.
everything worked great. I thought it was a good way to just kind of,
Rip the
tease a
band-aid
little
off.
new
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. I thought, and it made sense too. I felt like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because it does mention at one point throughout the movie when I think Lois is like, "Is that your dog?" He's like, "Well, it's kind
Like
of
a
like a
foster
foster
situation.
sort of situation,"
Yeah.
So introducing her at the end, I thought worked really well, and they didn't dwell on it. It was like 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
She just walked in and out. I thought that all worked really well. So
Yeah.
I made me more excited for the movie
Yeah. No,
next year. I think
100%.
June
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah, yeah, less than a year to go. I mean, it's already completely wrapped filming.
Mhm.
So that's very, very exciting. But yeah, it was great. And I loved the two post credit scenes. We can talk about them real quick here, which is just it was just two kind of joke ones. But I really like the Mr. Terrific one where he's just like Superman's just he just can't I like that it's like he just can't get out of his own way. He's like, I know I
Mhm.
shouldn't say anything, but he's just like, it's just it's just a little off. And he's like,
Yeah.
come on, man. Like I thought that was great. But let's move that over to let's talk about these three guys here. Let's talk about Mr. Terrific, Green Lantern, and Hawk Girl. And Metamorpho. Let's talk about all four of these guys, the four members of the Justice Gang here. What were your thoughts overall on the Justice Gang and how they were in the movie? Kind of your thoughts on Guy, Mr. Terrific, Hawk Girl, and Metamorpho. Kind of bounce to wherever.
Yeah, the Justice Gang, I thought was all great. I didn't expect Mr. Terrific to kind of take the lead out of the three of them at first.
Yeah.
It's very much pushed as Guy, so I
Mm-hmm.
figured it would kind of be Nathan Fillion. But having Mr. Terrific, help out in all the ways that he did, I thought was really good. And like I said, he was definitely like one of the things that came away from the movie. I'm like, I want more of that character.
Yeah.
Like what talk doing a show, whatever it is, I'm very much interested. I thought Hawk Girl got a little shortchanged at times.
Mm-hmm.
I wish she would have had a little bit more to do. Just having seen Isabella Merced and like Last of Us and anything else, definitely more than
Romulus too.
capable. So would
Yeah.
have liked a little bit more from her. And then Metamorpho I like too. I'm interested. I want to know more of him because when they're looking at, I forget what part it is. I think it's when they're sitting on the farm and they're kind of everybody's watching the TV. I think
Yeah.
it's at that point. And it shows him next to this woman. And I'm like, who is this lady? I'm like,
Oh
it just
yeah.
looks like he's in like a regular like Earth planet house. So I'm like, is this like his wife, his sister? What's the deal here?
I think it was like a girlfriend.
Okay, girlfriend,
Yeah.
whatever.
Or baby mama, maybe. I don't know.
So I'm
Maybe it
interested
was
to
Joey's
see
mom.
more from him. And I want to see more Anthony Carradine like comedy wise, because I'm like, I'm just thinking of like Barry. I'm like, he's so funny in that show.
Yeah.
Like I want more of him kind of joking around with that James Gunn humor.
Yeah, and I like the little kind of mini arc that he had, because obviously when we first are introduced to him, he's in a very, very dark place, both literally and physically, and emotionally. But he does get that levity throughout the movie, and he has that great line right at the end where he's like, "The Justice Gang? That's awesome."
Yeah.
He's like, "That's an amazing name."
He goes, "You're in."
Yeah, you're in. That was great. Yeah, I love that, and then just so many quotable lines. Well, I'll go to Isabella for a second. I mean, obviously, I don't think there's a person alive who doesn't love Isabella Merced in anything. I mean, we've talked about on this show, going all the way back to Dora. I'm just like, man, this Dora movie's crazy, but like she's really good in this. Actually, going all the way back to Transformers. What was that? The Age of Extinction.
I think I missed that one.
Yeah, that was the one that she was like the little kid in. She was great in that movie. Just really love seeing her in everything. And obviously, the older she's gotten, the more mature she's gotten as an actress and everything like that. She's just getting more and more and more opportunities. Obviously, like Alien, Romulus, Last of Us, and Superman, just to name a few, just in the last 6 months, which is, pretty crazy. But I do think she got kind of the short end of the stick, but I think she made, with what she had, she made her presence felt, and she does get that moment with the Baravian president where she's the one that takes him out, and he's like, "You won't drop me, you're a hero," and she's like, you're just like Superman, and she goes, "I'm not like Superman," and then drops him, and I was like, okay, that's a cool moment. Like for anything else that she got shortchanged on, that is a cool moment. And then just the lines from this guy where it's just so good. First of all, people said there was, before the movie came out, they were like, "There's no needle drops in this." There was one needle drop, and it was the action scene with this guy on the beach, which I thought was awesome. Kind of seeing everything that Mr. Terrific is physically capable of from Lois's perspective. I thought was really, really cool when she's in that kind of barrier. And then just some of his lines of like, "Do you see him? I see him, a dog, a little green baby, and a squiggle man." It's like, what are you talking about?
Or that part where she's like, "Oh, your circles." She's like,
and he said, circle is flat. Spheres are 3-dimensional. What are you talking about? Or even the line at the end where he's like, "The code is right here to close the rift. I can help you." He said, "I don't need your help. I'm Mr. Terrific. Get out of here." I just love how
he probably made me laugh the most, honestly.
Yeah, and even when that shot we've talked about, literally, that's the sign of how much some of this humor just absolutely hit and worked. Is we've brought up in this review, I think this is the 4th time we've brought up just this one moment with the "I'm doing some important shit down here," or whatever he says, when the camera just looks up and you just see him pop his head out and he goes, "What are you doing?" Like that was so funny. And then of course the post-credit scene too, where he's like, "It's just a little off," and he's like, "Man, I'm done." He's like, I'm getting out of here. No freaking way. I thought that all that stuff was great, but last thing, what about some of these Daily Planet people? I feel like the person who we haven't talked about with probably the most to do in the movie that we haven't talked about yet is Jimmy Olsen. So let's end with Jimmy, and then I'm sure we'll talk more about this movie in the future, but let's wrap up here with Jimmy Olsen. What do you think of Skylar Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen, or anything else you want to hit?
I thought he was really good. I liked him. I don't know if he needs, I know they were talking about his own spinoff. I don't know if he needs his own show personally.
I'd love a special presentation MCU equivalent, like a 90-minute thing.
Honestly, I don't really, like I've said, I don't really have any much like Superman lore knowledge with any of the characters. I always thought he was like his Eddie Brock. So when he's like helping like Lois with the investigative journalism, and he seems like a genuinely good guy, it like threw me for a loop. I was like, "Oh, this guy's like a nice guy." I always thought he was kind of, he had like this villain turn. Maybe he does at some point, but so I was surprised to see that. But I thought Skylar Gisondo did a great job as that character. But yeah, I would say some of the characters in the Daily Planet, we don't really need personally. Like Cat Grant, I don't really think she was needed. Or I forget this character's name. Although you said you like
Steve Lombard.
Yeah, you liked his line where he's
Yeah,
like, "Where's my chair?"
Yeah, that's like the whole reason that he's in the movie. It's just
Yeah.
so that Beck Bennett can scream that line. Why am
Yeah.
I the only one without a chair? That was like such panic.
And then Perry White as well. I wish we
Mhm.
got a little bit more from Wendell Pierce just because he was so funny at Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
So I wish we had a little
The
bit
first
more
responders family fun.
Yeah, but maybe they're gonna make like, and again, maybe all these characters kind of come into that Jimmy Olsen show that they might do. So,
or even just
we'll
more time to shine in a Superman 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like I think we're gonna get a lot more of this stuff. But yeah, I really like and even for what we had, I liked Wendell Pierce as Perry White like a lot. Like I think if you're comparing one single movie Perry White's, like Frank Langella in Superman Returns is like basically not even a character. He's just like, Clark, I need those reports on my desk.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the whole character that like at least here he had the little like thing where him and Jimmy had kind of that little back and forth all throughout the movie where he's like calling him sir and stuff, and then at the end he's like, and kid, call me Perry. Like I thought that was a cool line and a little moment between the two of them. That was like a good moment of earned trust, I think, between those two.
Actually, there was the one line at the end where they walk into like the empty mall or whatever it's called. He goes, how long have they been hooking up?
Yeah, that was funny. That was funny. And Jimmy goes, I think about 3 months. I think. Yeah, that was really, really funny. But yeah, I liked everything top to bottom. Last person I want to talk about here, because to me, this was a little bit of a disappointment of the size of the role in the movie for what I thought it was going to be, and that's Rick Flag for me. I was expecting more of the Amanda Waller role, more of the Nick Fury role, and he really and don't get me wrong, with the screen time that there is, and this is obviously Rick Flag Sr. played by Frank Grillo, who we saw in Creature Commandos and we're about to see next month in Peacemaker, in what I assume is going to be a much, much bigger role in Peacemaker. But really in this movie, we just kind of got the big arrest moment, which was really like a minute of screen time.
Yeah.
And then other than that, it's really just him in the Pentagon kind of mean mugging, and kind of you just see the gears turning in his head of what his take on Superman is, what his thought process is to try and deal with this situation. And then he has that moment at the end where the guy's like, well, I'll tell you one thing, these metahumans are going to be a lot bigger of a problem now. And Rick Flag has the like,
Is this after Creature, like chronologically? Is this like after Creature Commandos? Or
I really don't know. I mean, that's what I think. But I mean, there's really nothing in this that relates to that at all.
No, right. I was just curious, like timeline was.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I believe it would be after for sure. But yeah, and then I guess the last thing too was we did get an appearance of the man himself, Mr. Christopher Smith, appearing on the InfoWars thing, which I like. I don't know if you know that comedian, but very early in the movie, it was like cell phone footage, and I went, "Is that Michael Ian Black as like this news anchor?" And then the news anchor like slowly became an actual character in the movie, and I was like, "Oh, it is Michael Ian Black." That's just like kind of an oddball choice to have like actually have a bigger role in this kind of a big movie. But yeah, I thought that all that stuff was really funny too. But guys, that will do it for our big discussion, review, spoiler discussion of Superman, written and directed by James Gunn, first live action film entry in the DC universe. What do you call that? Is the DCU cinematic universe though, right? Like the C in DC is silent. It's not the DCCU. It's the DCU, right?
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
I always thought it was just DC Universe.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I mean. Is the C stand for C or cinematic? I don't know. We have to ask James. We got to get him on.
But I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. Because otherwise you're just saying Detective Comics universe, which doesn't sound right to me. But yeah, guys, let us know, what did you think of this movie, this rather good movie, if you ask me. We went for about an hour and 10 minutes, which was way longer than I thought we were, but I'm not mad at all. We will have this up as 2 videos on the channel, as you'll obviously see. We'll, just like we did for Thunderbolts, we'll have a the quick 15-minute non-spoiler discussion, and then the whole thing listed a little bit later. So if you just watch this and you know somebody that you want to that you think might like Superman and you enjoyed our spoiler discussion, send them the link to the non-spoiler discussion. Tell them that it's a good movie and that we liked it, and that you think that they'll like it too. If you think they will, send that over to them. Or if you know somebody who already saw the movie and really liked it or didn't like it, send them over our full spoiler discussion. And yeah, that will do it for me. I have been one of your hosts, Sean Monk. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this Superman discussion.
I've been another host, TJ Cornwell. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe below. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and we will see you next time.